Hello, I'm Marty Campbell with Edmo Distributors, and I'm here today with Mark Anderson with VSWR Solutions. In today's webinar, we will be discussing in a few ways the AVX-10K complementing functions can support your avionics testing. We will provide an overview on NAV Guided Test, VSWR sweeping and antenna, distance to fault testing, using antenna couplers as part of suggested accessories for solutions to SAFO 17002, test reporting to complement procedures, Stratasync and multi-unit management from a QC perspective, smart access anywhere and remote use and support, and then using the TC201 for better TCAS testing. And make sure you stick around until the end of the presentation for details on how to get a free t-shirt and the possibility of getting a free iPad. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mark for further.
Thank you, Marty, and thank you to Edmo for hosting this webinar. So we'll get started with the first topic up of the day is guided test. And there are, I believe there's a question and answer area there should be. So if you've got questions during any of this, feel free to go ahead and get those over to us. I'm going to take a quick break here just at the beginning, just to show why we're doing this. So the AVX-10K has a number of we put together a number of training videos already. They're available on our website and also on YouTube. How do you get to them? You go to VSWRsolutions.com, look for the AVX-10K product page, go to resources, scroll all the way down to the bottom where there's videos, click on that link, and there should be 18 or so videos here that aren't showing up for some reason, but that's the way webinars work sometimes. Anyways, that page would have 19 or so videos. We've got videos like how to use the AVX, but more importantly, how to test DME, how to test TCAS, how to test all the different LRUs that are out there. So the purpose of this video, the purpose of this webinar is basically to fill in some of the things that we don't have training videos for quite yet. And those are the topics that Marty had just gone over. So again, we've got videos out there. Feel free to use those. I'll reference some of these as we go through the discussion today. All right, so we'll look at guided test first. So I am VNC'd into this AVX-10K that I have sitting right here. And so we're going to I'll VNC into that. So the guided test functions we added in a previous software release. By the way, there is a brand new release that's out there, 4.1.4, that should help some of the issues that anybody has run across, and we've added some features in there as well. So that's available on the website and via Stratasync. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. The guided test piece of this is available for all the navigation applications. So that includes ILS, VOR, DME, and TACing. I'm just going to look at ILS today. So I'm set up everything. I've got connected to the RFIO. Essentially, some of the feedback we've gotten, for example, we have an autopilot test here that is basically takes and goes in a can scenario that goes out to this first yellow marker, if you will. Some of the feedback is we'd like to go farther. Well, guided test is a great way to be able to do that. We kept this limited for safety reasons, so that you're not exercising your ailerons quickly. But I've set up a guided test, and I'm not going to go through and show you how I've created this. That, like I said, the videos that are out there have done this. But for example, just to run it, I've got this expanded autopilot RFIO, and I'm just going to click run, hands off. Basically, I took and created a scenario that goes up to the right, over to the left, and we should be seeing that on the LRU live as well. So basically, it just goes in a little a square pattern and then back to center. So that can be again, that's just you create your own test, you create your own script essentially, and all those steps you captured, and you can repeat that over and over and over. So yeah, there's a video of the actual LRU, and there's a little lag in the video, but take Marty's word for it. It's really smooth on the actual LRU. So that's the guided test in a nutshell. Lots of capabilities for that. You can take your current procedures, and basically, instead of doing A, B, C, and D, you can just make that all one step. So you can just say, go to the next step, go to the next step. So you can combine numerous settings and setups and things into one step. You can do that either with a delay in between steps or a key press in between steps. So all of that's again discussed in the training video in more detail. We are just FYI. So again, we have it for all the navigation. Coming soon to a theater near you. We're going to add guided tests for the comm function as well. All right. Next piece is the VSWR tool. So what we're going to do here, we're going to look at the VSWR app on the AVX-10K. We're going to walk through the calibration. So we with the AVX-10K, we provide a calibration kit, which is basically a short cable and then two components, the short and a load. All right, so we're going to walk through that calibration process just to show you that it's pretty simple. The recommendation is, you're not going to use the VSWR tool every week, probably. So it's a good idea to run through the calibration just prior to using that tool. It should help tighten things up from that aspect. So I show the on the PowerPoint right now is basically the specs of the antenna that we're going to test. It's obviously should be obvious that it's a bad antenna with the red X shown. But the VSWR on the specs is basically 1.7 or 1.7 to 1 VSWR. So those lines on the screen are typical when you have nothing connected to the SWR port. So don't get excited about those. I'm going to just hook the short cable to the AVX-10K and then hit the calibrate button. I guess I can do that with the arrow so that everybody can see what I'm clicking on. Then we'll do the external standards. That means using these things that we provide with the kit. So the very first step is to connect the cable with no load or short connected and just measure and open. So we'll do that. It goes through that step. The next step is to connect the short. Which one's the short? Should be the short one, logically. So yeah, that's right. So we'll use our dexterity to make sure that's connected properly and just click measure short. Once that's done, it says measure the load. So connect the load. So I'm taking the short off, connecting the load. And again, this is just a simple calibration process that you should run before you use the VSWR tool. It'll tighten up the distance default measurements, things like that. So don't forget to hit save. Typically here we hit save as default, right? So that'll save it for the entire session. So given that, I'm going to disconnect that and connect up our antenna. And yes, PNC connectors are always so much fun. All right. So I'm seeing something now that is not kosher, but we'll walk through it regardless and we'll get through this. Essentially, I'm going to set my configuration settings to 940 and 1100. That's going to be the range of values that we want for that antenna. But essentially, that screen should look like just a line that's just above this marker here, and you can set that marker per your specs. So you'd set your marker, like I have this one set for 1.7. So that's the ratio that you saw from those specifications. So that's that piece of it. We're going to jump over to the distance default. And to do that, basically, why would you use distance default? If you've got a reported bad transponder or bad LRU, and the LRU checks out okay from all of our testing, then you'd want to disconnect at the LRU. And I've got a long cable here. This is about a 70-foot cable that will just hook up to the SWR port. So you would just connect direct, pull that off of your LRU and connect it directly to the AVX-10K. So this should be the distance default. So we've got a cable definition on here. So that should be an RG 58A. And then there's the distance default. That would show, typically that would show a spike right at 70 feet. So that's what's going on there. The next topic we'll talk about is the use of couplers. So the FAA has a reported an issue back in 2017, and I'm sure a lot of our customers have seen reports or gotten reports from the FAA incursions that they're testing an aircraft at altitude. And so the transponder's turned on while they're doing a 411 test, for example. We have a white paper on this on our website that we've talked to it in more detail. We've talked to a lot of different classes at AEAs and conventions and things like that, just to make sure that everybody's aware of what we can do. We're all trying to be part of the solution. The biggest issue is the proximity of your ADS-B antenna. So if your hangar happens to be very close to an ADS-B antenna, you're going to have more issues. First step is obviously to shut your hangar doors. Secondly would be use a coupler. So we provide 2 couplers with our CNS kit. One's a bottom coupler that basically attaches to a blade antenna and then connects here to the AVX. Edmo also sells RF blankets. So that's kind of a tertiary step that you could take to add as many RF blankets as it takes to isolate that signal. But we do have reports of customers that have tried everything and they still have issues. At that point, you talk to your FSDO and show them that you've done everything you can and try to help have them get some relief from that. If you do need further help with that, feel free to give us a call here at Viavi and we can do what we can. We have been working with the FAA quite a bit to try to help mitigate all of these issues. So, all right. Next is test reporting. So on the old IFR 4000 and 6000, a lot of customers, the way they would capture information off the screen. There was a way to get data out of the 6000s, but the easiest way, once everybody had an iPhone in their pocket, was just to simply take a screen grab from that. With the AVX-10K, we're saving reports. So report files can be saved to a USB stick. There's a USB connection on the side of the AVX-10K. So if at the time when you run a test and hit that save button, you have a USB stick connected to the AVX, it will save that file both to the AVX and to that USB drive. Once it's been saved to the AVX, Stratasync is our cloud account that all those reports can get pushed up to that. And we're going to go through a little bit more on Stratasync here in a minute. But the Stratasync is another way to do that. This is a representative page here of our FAR Part 43, which is basically, you could print this front and back, so it could be a one-page report. And if you print this on your company letterhead with sign off on the back, submit that to the FAA, as this is the paperwork we'd like to use moving forward. I believe they'll be happy to take this as the 413 report data. And like I said, we just mentioned Stratasync. So I'll go into detail a little bit here. Stratasync is Viavi's. So Viavi is a big company. We have a lot of different products, not just avionics. We have fiber test equipment. We have PNT or GPS related equipment. So this tool, the Stratasync tool, is meant to be, it's a global tool, I will say, that a lot of people have access to. Recommendations for our community in the avionics world. when you go, so a lot of people, when you go to look at test data, so this is the Stratasync account, typically as it comes to you out of the box. When you go to look at your test data, first thing you see, and I apologize, I think I'm on our guest Wi-Fi here, so we're gonna have to, I'll just keep talking until it loads this page. So first thing you're gonna see is, I've got no data, where's my records, right? And then a lot of the columns here are, there's a lot of data here, a lot of columns here that may or may not pertain. Well, the first thing I would say is the default here is that the sync time is today. A lot of our other products get used on a daily basis, so that makes sense for them. For our community, that may not make sense. So first thing you want to do is go over here and click off this filter that says sync time today. There's my reports, there's my data, right? Now, the next thing you see is the file name, which I think is one of the most important things for our community, for the avionics world, because we save the file name as type of test, and then if it's a transponder type of test, we'll save the hex address and the tail number as well, and then pass it there. So for me, that was one of the more important things, and you have to scroll down and scroll over every time you want to try to use that. Not real convenient. So what I've done, and I'm jumping over to the actual Stratasync that I use, and again, I'll wait for the page to load, but you can customize these pages, and I'll walk you through that. And it's to me, it's a lot more beneficial and easier to use. So the things that get sent up to Stratasync are not just the report files, but also any screen grabs. If you're ever having an issue that out in the field and you want to do a screen grab, don't want to use your phone necessarily, you don't have to. So if you want a screen grab, you can just click and drag down on the top of the AVX-10K and you can do a screen grab there. Or optionally, you can hold the lower right button down for, I think, 3 or 4 seconds, and then it'll do a screen grab. You can name that what you want. All of that data gets sent and saved up to Stratasync, okay? And so what I've done here is I've done a customized view. So right here, you can put those things in those columns. You can get rid of the ones that you don't care about, and then you can move these columns left and right. So what I've done is to start with file name over on the left, use the data format, which is basically either image or HTML report, or the more important things for us. And then asset type, asset ID, again, you can customize these to your own needs, and you can just put the 2 columns in there if that's all you want to see, for example. And then further from that, you can create favorite views. So this is a customized view of this test data. But even within this test data, I can have different filters. So if I only wanted to see screen grabs, I can set that up. So I click this only screen grabs, and then it basically changes my data format to the image/PNG. And so there's a list of all my screens that I captured. To download those, to get those onto your system or onto your computer, so they're all up here in the cloud, and we save all the information free for 30 days. And it's up to you to get that data off and onto your systems if you want. The quickest way, for example, if I want to do all the screen grabs, would just be to click that up or left button and it selects everything. And excuse me, click the action buttons and hit download. That'll create a zip file. So that'll get downloaded to your downloads directory on your local computer. Hopefully that all makes sense. And then from the QC perspective, how to handle multiple assets. We all like all of our users to have multiple AVX-10Ks. I know a lot of us don't, and that's fine. Excuse me 1 second while I read. The asset lists, now this is our group, and we have quite a number of assets here, but you would see a list of those AVX-10Ks, or actually any other Viavi products that you own. So if you own any radio equipment, for example, here's a CX300 and a CX100, those would all show up here as part of your private account. But you can use these pages, this asset pages, to manage your assets. So like I said, we have a new, go back to the home page. That's not it. It showed up here in the upper right, and what's new, that software 414 is available now. How do you push those out to all your boxes? You can go to this asset page and say update firmware. There's a little rocket icon right here. So this is 41004 on Stratasync. The formatting here is a little different than online. But 4.1.4 essentially. You can click the rocket icon, and then you can select the AVX-10Ks or the assets that you want to push that software out to. So that's a way that you can manage multiple assets at one time. Templates is another part of that, and I believe we have a video for how to use the template use. The templates are a snapshot of all of the settings on the AVX-10K. So if you wanted to test the Cessna 172 the same way every time, you get your settings on the AVX-10K, capture that as a template, that would get uploaded to Stratasync, and you can push that out to multiple assets as well. And next topic is Smart Access Anywhere. This is a tool, again, free from Viavi. Everybody has access to this. You can put it on tablets, laptops, computers. How do you get to that? We're going to go over here to this will go here. And so on the Viavi website, just go on there and search for Smart Access Anywhere. And I'm not going to wait for it because I have no patience with Wi-Fi today. But you search for Smart Access Anywhere, and you can download that software for free. Essentially, I'm going to run it from here. And like I said, even though I'm VNC'd into this with an application called Type VNC, you can run the Smart Access Anywhere software. How do you do that? How does it work on the AVX-10K? So we're going to go to settings, which is down on the system ribbon. So you go to system settings and then remote operation. There's the Smart Access Anywhere button. And then, so this is the page where you basically, if you're out in the field, you don't have Wi-Fi access, you can hook the AVX-10K up to your phone as a hotspot, and then this will become enabled. So basically, I'm connected. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm connected to my box, so that's not going to work anymore. But essentially, you connect to SAA server, it'll give you a Smart Access Anywhere code. That's a 10-digit hex code. Once that's given to you, you would transfer that information to the person running Smart Access Anywhere software, and they'd be able to remote into that box, just like we did. Just like you can with a tablet or just like you can with your phone. So again, you'll have that remote access. Our tech support guys use that from our companies. A lot of times when people are having issues out in the field, we'll ask you to start a Smart Access Anywhere session and then remote into that box. Sorry, this is the page for the download of that. That's what it looks like. And again, it's free, and you can put it on iPhones and Android products as well. The last thing we're going to talk about in our viewed point here is you've probably seen this cake pan back here. And I know a lot of us don't test TCAS necessarily, but again, we're filling in the gaps here for posterity. Excuse me once again. So this is our TCAS coupler, and from the brochures that we send out, you typically you don't understand the scale. We don't have a banana next to that thing, but that's the size of a TCAS coupler. This is a TCAS A. I'm gonna put back to the screen there, Jeff. The kit comes with cables and poles to be able to do this. All the TCAS antennas, as you probably know, are on the bottom side of the aircraft. So it comes with a pole with a hydraulic extension. So you want to loosen that, leave it loose so that the hydraulics can keep that coupler pressed up against the aircraft. So back to the differences between the A and the B, actually, on our brochure, we talk about it, but just from a visual standpoint, we have the TC201A, that's basically universal for the Collins TS4100 and the Honeywell and ACSS round antennas. And so you can see from the form factor on the inside of this this coupler, as I get this out of the way. So you can see it'll fit a round antenna, and it'll also fit an oval, the Collins TSS antenna. We built this for wide body aircraft, so you can see the flatness of that. And so the RF gasketing is on the outside ring of this, okay? Works for most of our customers, but some of the smaller fuselages are wanted to use the TCAS coupler. One last thing, the other nice thing about it, it has a quadrant selector here, so you don't have to move the test set all the way around the 4 different quadrants, which is typical in a TCAS test. So you can just flip the wheel there. So that's a TC201A. This is our B, and you can tell from this that it only supports the oval Collins 4100 system. So basically what we've done is move the RF ring right around the antenna so that even the narrow body aircraft, it'll still make a good seal. So that's basically the difference between the A and the B. I know that can be a little bit confusing, but you can give us a call, give Edmo a call. We're well versed in how to help guide you down the right path. That's it for our for this part of our talk. We're going to open it up to any questions. So if anybody has any questions, you should be able to type them in the chat or into the Q&A.
So we got a question. Are the test reports able to be exported, sent to an email?
So the answer is yes. The test reports are HTML files, so they're browser compatible. There is an option when you save it also, you'd save it to a PDF, and that would get sent up to Stratasync as well. But the process to get them emailed would be either off your USB or via Stratasync. You can get those files onto your system and then email from within your system. So it is on our roadmap it is in our roadmap to take a look at that, to be able to do that directly. We'll see where that goes.
Another question, can you use the distance default app to test cables in other systems like GPS?
So the AVX-10K goes from 10 megahertz to 1250 megahertz. The GPS domain is up around 1500 megahertz. So theoretically, yes, you should be good to test a GPS cable. I would say it's more of a go no go. I wouldn't necessarily tend to rely on the actual distance measurement necessarily, but if you've got it should flag it if you've got a bad cable. And if you need, to get further, then, you might need a more precise TDR. The TDR built into the AVX is really just a quick and dirty tool to help combine more tools into one, so you can do more troubleshooting with one tool out in the field. Another question we get sometimes too is the NAG messages. So I'll pop back over to I'm going to pop back over to the AVX, Jeff. And so I call them NAG screens, but essentially in any application, and I'll load the transponder app. Once you get the setup and everything done there and you hit run, it'll pop up a screen that just as a reminder of how you have everything set up. If you actually look at that, you can save yourself, 30 seconds or so to be able to realize that maybe you don't have the AVX set up like you really wanted it, for example. So I'm not hooked up to anything, but this is the screen I'm talking about. So right now it shows you that I'm connected to the antenna port, and maybe I really wanted to be testing with the coupler, for example. So, the purpose of that is to just give you a quick reminder. if you're a daily user of the AVX and you're more advanced, you can go into here at advanced settings. And there where it says verify unit setup configuration, you can just change that to a no. And so that'll save you, again, if you don't need that screen, you don't want that screen, you can always turn that off and then there you go. Another question we get to is there's a transponder config check right here. So you can see that button after you run a transponder test. And this isn't going to show anything because I haven't tested a transponder, but those are the parameters that it would go out and read from a transponder. So if you do a new install, this is a really handy way to just verify how you have that transponder strapped before you send it out into the world. And you're saving yourself having to come back if you had it strapped as a heavy, for example. That would be something you can see quickly from here. So that's the transponder config check button on the transponder auto page.
Another question, any plans to expand SWR testing for transponder antennas?
So it does cover transponder antennas right now. So the 9,000, the L band is covered in there. So you should be able to test a L band transponder antenna right now with the VSWR tool. Absolutely. Then again, you want to narrow, typically the default range is from 10 to 1250. You can narrow that band for what type of antennas you're looking at, whether that's L band in the 900 to 1100 range, or you want to look at a comm antenna, you can limit it down to the frequencies that antenna is spec for, or spec around, if that makes sense. So.
Next question, does the transponder function have options for 121.5 and 406 to test separately, thinking DLT?
So yeah, that would be the ELT function. I believe so, yeah. And on there's two separate tabs. There's a 121.243 tab and then a 406 tab to support more of the digital ELT. So those are two separate tabs. You can test those individually. Absolutely.
And what makes this system better, more user-friendly than a competitor set?
Yeah, so our differentiators are, we are the IFR company that's been out there making the IFR 4000s and 6000s. We changed our name to Viavi. These are manufactured in Wichita, Kansas. So we've got the legacy going forward. We also, not only do we build ramp test equipment, but we also build bench equipment. So a lot of the vendors that are making the LRUs use our bench test equipment to verify and validate their production facilities and make sure all of the LRUs that go out the door are good to go. So what better company would you want that can test end to end from start to the field? And then additionally, like we mentioned, all the things that we're supporting, our tech support is awesome. We try to provide you with all the tools free of charge that we can help with, and that's Smart Access Anywhere. We didn't mention Mobile Tech today, but again, Mobile Tech's a free app that you can download on any phone or tablet and be able to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connect into the AVX-10K. So all of those are free of charge from Viavi, and we're always here to help support our customers and trying to make your lives easier moving forward. So if there's anything we can do or anything you can think we need to add to the AVX-10K, we're all ears. Or any of our other product lines, which, by the way, Edmo also sells. We make radar altimeter testers, we make a GPS-G satellite simulator, and then fuel test sets as well for commercial world. So.
And I'll follow up with that. Between Viavi and Edmo, you'll be able to get someone on the phone within minutes. You'll always have somebody readily available to give you technical assistance and help you guys out there.
And then finally, we did put together another training video that should be published soon, and that is more about testing on a G1000 flight deck. So yeah, look for the notifications on that. And thanks to Edmo again for helping us put that together, and Banyan Air Services for helping us host that. Is that it?
One more.
Oh, one more question.
Can the transponder test confirm the airspeed and weight category outputs?
It can report the weight outputs, because that's one of the things that are strapped into the, programmed into the transponder. The airspeed is going to be more on the, let me go back to that page. Maybe that's what, we can bring that back up. I think, maybe it's the airspeed limits. Is that in there? I'm not as familiar with that as I should be, but, there's no verification done on that necessarily. It's mainly just a reporting tool, because we don't know exactly what you're testing. So again, if I run and then theoretically abort, so I believe so yeah, airspeed's not a part of this. Airspeed would be more of an ADS-B parameter, I would think. But the aircraft length, the aircraft width, the emitter category, again, those are just information that's reported. We're pulling out of the transponder and reporting to you as the user because we don't know exactly what they should be, right? So we can't really validate those. So hopefully that all makes sense. If not, we'll go back to the our emails at the beginning too. So you can get a hold of myself or Marty, and we'll answer any questions down the road.
And another question, how often does it require calibration if it has a self-calibration mode, or is that exclusive to that particular mode?
So that calibration that I showed you is just for the VSWR portion of the box. There is a separate calibration. Our OEM recommendations are that it gets done annually. And then we do that, send it back to the factory in Wichita, or there's other vendors out there that are helping us do that calibration as well.
The question is, will you have a webinar about the fuel test sets we offer?
Sure, that's a great. That's a great, and that we'll put that on the list, and we'll look at doing that maybe next month. Now that we got all our test setup and stuff figured out, our webinar stuff figured out, how this stuff works. Yeah, we look forward to doing that.
I think I've got all the questions answered here.
Tell them what they want, Marty.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark, for the great presentation. And anyone that wants further information, please contact the Edmo Test Equipment Sales Team. We're happy to provide any assistance you might need, technical support, pricing requests, and take orders. We have plenty of AVX-10Ks in stock for immediate shipment. And then I appreciate everyone attending and look forward to further discussions with everyone.